Thank you. Thank you. You are too much. Welcome back, ladies, gentle manticores, and all those babes in between. I'm Try, and this is another installment of Duwo Talks. Let me introduce you to tonight's esteemed dragons, heavy on the swords, scales, and spells, Malagos and Amber. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Very glad my people got in touch with your humanoids.
Thanks for having us. Right, Amber?
You guys,
Thrilled to be here. Absolutely.
how are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, fabulous. Fed, full, lush. Now, let's remind our audience, where are you from? And give me a fun fact about yourself.
Amber?
Oh, no, Malagos. I do believe you should have this honor first.
Well, I'm just from a little town that the name is escaping me for a moment because of everything else that's been going on. That it's quite crazy. A fun fact, I once caught Haku when he was falling from the sky. Or no, sorry, other way around. I actually flew. For a very brief moment in my life, I flew. Twice.
Was this before or after the log?
That was actually before the log.
Quite some time before the log.
Quite a year? 2+ years before the log? I don't know. Before the log. I think that's when I upset the kobolds. Or after I upset the kobolds.
Were they upset because they can't fly?
No. I think I accidentally upset them when we were talking about religion. They didn't take whatever I said very kindly, and so they gave us a giant bone dragon.
Amber.
I don't have nearly as many interesting adventures as Malagos does, but I'm just from a small oasis town in the desert, and a fun fact about me, I was right-handed for most of my life.
Oh, I'm sure there's a story there. We can get into it later if you want.
No, we most assuredly don't need to get into that story.
How is
No.
learning to write left-handed?
It's extraordinarily difficult. Thank you for your concern.
Now, if you are new to Duo Talk, I'm just your humble host, Try, and I bring on wonderful guests from Duo Gaming. So today we're having two adventurers. I know. Calm the applause, calm the oohs, calm the ahs. They're professionals, and they're going to tell us a little bit about themselves. So first, to dive in, what inspired your career path?
This is going to sound slightly cheesy, but my parents.
Do we have an adventurer with a good relationship with mom and dad?
Surprisingly, yes. My mother was a cleric. My father was a knight. And I always looked up to him, and just hearing their own stories of adventure made me want to get out and see what was beyond our little hovel. And then, I saw that there was the city of Djruthourhi in danger, and naturally I decided, yep, that's where we're going to take our life. And it's been interesting. It's never been a dull moment. I just missed the downtime, but it's still fun. And it's crazy.
Well, I certainly wish I had as, I won't say romantic, but Malagos, that is rather sweet. I love that you have such a good relationship with us. That's really heartwarming. My motives for becoming an adventurer are certainly far less altruistic. I won't go into many details, but I met some new friends, and we wound up in some trouble, and I made some mistakes, and I want to make it up to them, and I want to see the world. I've lived in my town for a very long time with my father, and he has done his best to protect me from all of the insanity in the world. Malagos, you probably know far more about that than I do. But I want to see the world now, and I want to make up for the mistakes that I made.
Well, sign Amber up for the next election. She surely knows how to work a crowd. This next question is for Malagos. What did you think of Light's Gambit when you quite literally came crashing down into their group?
I did. I think I still have a scar, a bruise from that one. They were really interesting. I could tell that they all definitely had potential to be a really great group. But at the time that I literally fell into them, I think there were still some kinks that were being worked out. And I'm kind of glad I stuck around because at first I wasn't too sure if I would. But they've really grown on me over these years. And some of them have made, I want to say, maturing steps that makes me proud to have been given the opportunity to be there to see that. I think Theron's the one I've seen grown maybe the most.
Well, that was quite kind. You speak favorably about them. Not everyone does.
And everyone's allowed to have their own opinions, but I think when you've been with a group as long as I've been with Light's Gambit, you get to see when not everyone's around and get to have heartwarming conversations with them and learn who they are when they're not in front of everyone else.
All right. Amber, now this next question, I quite literally had to fight off my producers to be able to ask. So I require a little juicy tidbit, but is Amber still harboring secrets from the gang?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say harboring secrets, as I would say the right questions haven't been asked of me yet. I haven't
Oh,
been,
really?
I haven't been specifically forthcoming with all of my past, and this isn't necessarily information that should be overheard by everyone, or at least people that don't necessarily need to know. It's nothing to worry about, Malagos. Nothing you need to worry about.
Every time someone says something like that to me, the last one who said it was Theron, and there was definitely things to worry about. Hey, no, it's fine. We're still getting to know Amber. Maybe we just need to. You know what? We're on a ship. When we get back to the ship, this would be a great time for us to find a time when there's. I don't want to say the Q word because that's going to make everything go havoc. Maybe we need to have another little Light's Gambit powwow.
Oh, yes.
Oh yes, your turn to join the powwow.
Oh, I'm so very much looking forward to this.
You look like you're looking forward to it. There'll be food if it makes you feel better.
Food isn't really what I'm concerned about, but I do appreciate that there will be snacks.
I'm getting word from my producers that we should clarify that Light's Gambit, in fact, does not host powwows, but group gatherings.
Yes.
Totally for it. I mean, come on, audience. Do we think Amber actually answered that question, or did she dance around it? We'll come back to you later. All right, Malagos. Speaking of Saren, you two are quite close, even though you value extremely different things. Tell us how this relationship developed and how do you see it in the future?
I mean, if you have to think about it, when you're adventuring with a group and you're all in such close quarters for so long, it's kind of not hard to grow on each other a little bit.
But I would argue that Malagos and Saren are particularly close.
Well, we also room together, so we've had more chances to talk as compared to other people. Not to mention what went down in not
Now
talks
this
like
dance.
that. Don't know.
Yes,
That's a pretty solid friendship, I'd say. I'd kind of take it that I guess Theron's someone I feel I need to like look out for, as if someone hasn't been in her side, based on everything that has been revealed about her backstory and that lovely little eyeball that likes to follow her around. And I'm curious if maybe growing up she just wasn't dealt a great hand. I don't know really what I'm saying. I care for Sarah, yes. I, but I don't know if it's in that way.
you don't know. It's not a flat out no.
I don't put labels on things.
I do, and I love it.
Labels are a wonderful way to keep your things organized and make sure you know what you're feeling.
And boundaries.
Well, there's also the fact that I'm pretty sure if I crossed a boundary, she'd stab me. So,
We didn't say it wouldn't be a toxic relationship.
No.
Hmm.
Aaron is very vocal, I want to say. Listen, I'm just going to dig myself a deeper hole if I keep talking about this.
Do I see a blush there, Malagos?
No. It's quite all right.
Your
Are you
scales
sure?
are turning color.
I can feel it from here, and
I'm
the
a
red
copper
dragon.
dragon. They naturally have that when I shift my head in the light.
Tomato. Am I right, Amber?
If you want to talk about someone dancing around a question, I don't think I'm the only one putting on any kind of fancy footwork.
No, we have a full-blown dance party on the stage.
And I will say, I very much appreciate Malagos' moves. I do believe she might be winning.
We'll see. Amber, after the outcome of this career saga is complete, will you stay in touch with Light's Gambit if they're still alive?
I hope we're still alive.
I very much hope we're still alive, and I like to think that I will. I'll be honest, Try. I can't put any promises down that I will, but I like to think so, and at least a few members of the Light's Gambit I'd like to stay in touch with. But it really will depend on where we find ourselves at the end of this whole debacle.
So, have you considered yourself at any time a full-fledged member, or are we still carrying that adjunct card?
I don't think I've been with the Light's Gambit nearly long enough to consider myself a full-blown member. It's been just a few days. We're just getting on the way to our next stop. I don't think so. If they would count me as that, I would be honored, but I'm not putting that label on myself.
We have a write-in question. I'm getting... Yep. Oh, guys, this one's too good to pass up. Amber, are you still carrying a flame for our BBEG?
I think that would wildly depend on what someone defines as a...
Well, as a Dragonborn, I'm sure you would know.
Dragon, thank you. But yes, as a red half-dragon, I am very, very well acquainted with flames and fires. And the fire right now that I hold for Trier most assuredly would be scorching hate. But I won't deny that deep in what some would argue is my lack of heart, I hold affection for the man he was once before.
So if this was a romance novel, would you say friends to enemies to question mark?
Let's just leave it at friends to enemies. We don't need any of the additional question marks.
Oof. All right. The tea, my friends, still piping. Now, for both of you, what has been your favorite moment with the group so far?
Oh.
Malagos, I can go first if you'd like a minute to think. You have,
Oh, yes, please.
have so much more to think about than I do. My experience with the Lights Gambit is very limited, but I've very much been enjoying the time I've spent with Hawks. He's very kind, and he has welcomed me in, but having to educate him about not walking into a kitchen when a master artisan and offering to help. Help is wonderful, but not getting in the way of a master artisan. That will live fondly in my memories for a very long time. He just genuinely wants to help, and it's very endearing.
I would say that Hawks is our golden retriever.
Oh, he very much is.
Agreed.
He's like the golden retriever of the entire group.
Absolutely. Come on, Malagos, the talk
I know.
is ticking.
It's really hard. I know I was a part of this when it happened, but and it was probably the goofiest thing that happened. But when we were at that inn that the hag ran, and us and the wall, I still swear there's something behind that wall, but we'll never know, will we?
I think we were solidly told that there was nothing behind the wall. But you're right, we may never actually know.
We'll never actually know because now the house is gone.
The inn is gone.
Just vanished. That was certainly an amusing one.
Yes, if you've ever been at a TTRPG table and your group has spent 2 hours investigating a cellar wall, we know how you feel.
And we do.
All right. If you could give any group member a bit of advice, what would it be and who would you give it to?
I suppose really the only advice I have, and I don't even know if I could give anyone advice other than, swing harder, swing faster, hit harder, but would probably be to Mia. And I'm never going to hear the end of the fact I'm trying to give Mia advice.
No, please go on.
She needs to recognize when she needs to step back. She gets deeply involved, which is a wonderfully commendable trait. But she needs to recognize when to let go and let someone else make that. Also, she needs to follow her own advice. She'll know what I mean.
Oh, you'll probably get to look for it too if you ever said that to her face.
Oh,
I would love to see that conversation.
Conversation. Might ever be saying this directly to her face. I have plausible deniability. I can deny this ever happened.
I think this is recorded. I don't think we can. Oh,
I'm sure she would appreciate it.
No, she won't, but
we'll never know, will we?
We'll never
We could.
know.
Someone might make a bet.
I am certainly not taking that bet.
You don't think highly of your friend, do you?
Oh, no, I just really want to see her say this to Mia's face. I think it could be a good conversation.
I feel God chuckling around us.
Probably. If I had to give someone advice, it'd probably be Kyrie.
Interesting. Go on.
So we all have been there. We've all noticed that Kyrie has just found something to tell her who she is from her back end. And honestly, I think I would say that even if that's who you were, you don't need to let it define you moving forward. You can be whoever you choose to be. If you like being the person you were before you found that letter, then you just simply need to be that person. If you want to explore more about your past and see if that's the person you would rather be, that I know Lace Gambit would help.
Sounds like some kind of beast broke into the studio.
Oh no. Oh, you all would be fine. Me and Amber are adventurers. We're great at this. It'd be perfect.
Sorry, everyone. A blink dog broke out of my dressing room.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, as they like to teleport.
Oof, what a day. All right. Very sound pieces of advice for those who may or may not receive them. Now, let's pivot. A little bit of fun, a little bit of spontaneity. What's your favorite use of magic?
You know, I really like the and of course right now it's not my forte, honestly. But summoning is certainly what I find most fun. I have some spells that can do it. I haven't really used it yet, but it could be fun in the future.
Are we going to see some exciting new moves from Malagos?
Depends if I get the chance to use it. It's not anything super crazy. I don't really have any.
Has its own perks, I imagine, when it comes to magic.
This is true.
It is always rather enjoyable to be able to cast my spells without my verbal components, especially when you're deep in the bowels of a previously untouched crypt and a mummy lord has cast silence over your group.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's very handy.
Yes. Approaching an old crypt and not expecting a mummy lord is quite novice.
I had more information than either one of my companions want to admit. It's not my fault. Don't ask me anything.
Could be a little bit of your fault that you didn't.
If you're taking people into a very old crypt, do you think you'd warn them about what they're going to face?
Oh, I have. I had warned about traps and obstacles, but when you crack open a sarcophagus that has potentially depictions of what's on the outside without conferring with your group what you might be planning, I think I'm solidly absolved of at least that part of the game.
Are you saying that I pulled a rogue and just jumped right into something?
Yes, I'm saying Jason did.
Oh, that doesn't always surprise me.
No. All right, Malagos, this next one is for you, and I have been urged from the crew behind the screen to circle back to a question we have all still had on our minds. We know Amber has, quote, unquote, very specific tastes and partners, but what about Malagos?
Not that I really have a taste. I know, that sounds so boring, but I want to like someone that I click with. Well, I don't know when that's going to happen.
Are you a free love type of dragon or a one and done for me type of dragon?
That kind of question. No, honestly, I've never found myself in that situation before, so I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out along the way. I kind of focused more on the adventuring aspect and the spreading the word of Bahamut more than I worried about the love aspect.
Word has to get to Light's Gambit to start spicing things up. Am I right, audience? I think they agree. Now, we are coming up on time, and you two have been lovely. So, very important last question goes to Amber. And I hope you've taken off your dancing shoes. Did you know you were in a cult and just pretended it was okay?
I don't think I've ever been a member of a cult as far as I know.
Audience. Flashback, if you will, to a movement with a group of dragons, a charismatic one at the helm, female dragons googly-eyed and in love with the charismatic leader, all going towards a movement. Now, I'm not an expert, but a spade's a spade.
I wouldn't say that I had been involved in a cult, as you want to call it. I was more raised in a secluded, isolated environment. Call it a cult if you wish.
I mean, most cults are secluded and isolated.
Well, when you face a world as unfriendly towards dragons as we had, it's generally safer to not necessarily mingle with the populace. I would never say that I had been a part of a cult. I'm sure anyone that hears my story will say I was part of a cult, and they're welcome to think that. But I don't believe I was. I was young. This was the only environment I had known. And I feel if that is what makes it a cult, knowing only the people around me, I feel there are several places that can be a cult. Wouldn't any village be a cult? If you're raised only with those people and those are the only people you know?
Well, is there an idealistic, charismatic leader?
There was.
Mm-hmm. That's something a village could be missing. Now, we didn't mean to offend you, Amber. We're just asking the hard-hitting, real question. And if you don't consider yourself a part of a cult, then we respect your point of view. Before we end... Yes. I mean, they both deserve a round of applause. They've been very compliant. They burned lots of calories with their dance party. Before we call it a night, before we bid farewell, say adieu to you and you and you, is there anything you would like to say to the audience?
If you're going to join an adventuring party,
do your research. Make sure you know exactly which one you're getting dragged into.
Yes. And learn some fighting skills, please.
Or magic.
Or magic. Whatever. Or, bow and arrow, whatever your comfort zone is.
Is it a harken back to a potential love interest?
No.
I'm just kidding. Thank you, Malagos. Thank you, Amber. You have been delightful. This has been Try with another episode of Duo Talk. See us next time when we bring in more troublemakers from Light's Gambit. Good night.